Hey everyone, I'm Lydia and I have the day off. I actually have the whole week off, so I thought, why not do a reading day? It's cozy, it's fall, perfect. I read the first half of my TBR in just 3 days, and it was 4 books that averaged, or it was around 1,400 pages altogether. So then I looked at what I had left, and this is around 1,200 pages, so I was like, oh, that should be easy. So my goal is to get through these books in the next 2 days. This one I barely started, but I took those pages out of the final count. So yeah, this one here and this one are both audiobooks, so I did download those so that I can listen to them while doing work around the house or cooking, etc., so that I can get the most reading in. But yeah, let's see if I can get these books done in the next 2 days. I am at page 149, so I just read 100 pages because I was at 49 pages when I started. So it took me about an hour and 11 minutes to read that, which is fairly common for a book this style. I think it's literary fiction. Okay, it says it's contemporary romance. So far there's been a little bit of romance, but the main, which I guess that does make sense because it's both from the guy's perspective and the girl's perspective. But the main story is a single mom. She's like 29. She just moved from Alaska down to the lower 58, and she is trying to figure out what she's going to do, pretty much living on her own without her parents for the first time. And it's a sequel to a book I read like 4 years ago, and I really enjoyed that book. So it's been interesting seeing the same characters, which the main male character, he is a pastor, an outreach pastor, and then his job gets removed because the church is cutting back, so he's doing other pastoral work, but his real goal in life is to work with a mission to Mexico. So it sounds boring when I talk about it, but it's actually really interesting and very well written. I've been listening to Killing Reagan as I was mowing and doing the fire, etc. And I'm at page 117 on chapter 12. So I don't know if you've ever read a Riley book before, but generally I've only read one other one. And what it did is it starts at the death, and then it backs up and it jumps around a lot. And often it will start each section will start with the year, and then 24 years before his death or something like that, which is a unique storytelling plot line. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It has a lot of good information. I've read one other book about Reagan before, so it's cool to get another perspective. Now I'm going to go back to reading All That It Takes for a while. I am on page 265 and enjoying the book. I am on page 172 and I've been listening to it while making my lunch. So I'm going to eat, well, maybe taking a little bit of a break from reading, I'm not sure yet, and then probably go back to All That It Takes. But I'm really enjoying this. I love history, and I would say I'm more likely to read ancient history than recent history, so it's good to brush up on this stuff. It is 3:45 and I just finished All That It Takes. I listened to the last 20-25% on audiobook while doing things around the house and playing a game. I was not sure what to expect with the book, but I really enjoyed it. It had a pretty predictable ending, but the way we got to it was not exactly what I had anticipated, and I enjoyed it. I really like the characters. Normally I do not like kids very much in books because they can be very unrealistic. Well, this time there was a 10-year-old kid who was unrealistic. I will not say he was not unrealistic, but he was absolutely adorable, and he was my favorite part of the book for sure. I wanted to go to a coffee shop, but by the time I actually was like, oh, it's time to go to a coffee shop, I looked, and all the ones around me that are not chain coffee shops are about ready to close, and so instead I made myself an iced coffee that's mostly decaf and then a baked good, and I'm going to read for a while enjoying that and pretending like I'm at a coffee shop. My next book is Rally Around the Flag, and I know absolutely zero about it. So yeah, I guess we'll figure that out. I have been reading or listening to the audiobooks anyways for about 7.5 hours now. I am 136 pages into Rally Around the Flag, and so far, like, imagine an Andy Griffith show and like you're reading the script for it. That's what this book feels like. But yeah, it's sprinkling right now, but I was getting tired of just sitting there, so I decided to go on a short walk and maybe read down by the river for maybe read down by the river for a little bit. And done. So it got too dark down by the river, so I came up to my porch to finish reading with the porch light, and it was not my favorite story, just because mostly I don't think I'm the target audience for it. The main characters were senior citizens, and they were doing things like trying to help coach the cheerleaders on like the old cheerleading stunts, things like that, where it was interesting like to a degree, but not really written for me. So yeah, I would give it 3 stars because there was nothing wrong with it. I just was not who the book was intended for. So it is almost 8 o'clock now, and I have read for like almost 9 hours. I just finished Bill O'Reilly's Killing Reagan. I actually listened to most of it as an audiobook, which was delightful. The story, I forget about gritty details of people's lives that get exposed when you have so much documentation on them. And some of the stuff on here, I'm like, wait, what? Because he's such a great president. And then I remember some things about his life that were really not super stellar. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It did have some words I would not quite recommend. So for that reason, read it at your own risk. The last book I have is this one, and it is 325 pages, Voice of the Ancient, which it is on audiobook. So I'm going to start reading it, but I might move over to audio, and I think I can finish it tonight. I am on page 139. I listened to it for a little bit while making my supper and eating. But yeah, so far this is definitely the most interesting of the books. It is 11 o'clock and I am on page 212, which means I have 112 pages left and I want to finish before midnight. So I am going to put the audiobook in when I get ready for bed and listen to it on like 2.5 or 3 times speed, which I sometimes do. I mean, I always listen on at least 2. But sometimes when I'm really into a story, so I know who all the characters are, I listen faster. So that's my plan. I am on page 255, chapter 28, and everything was going good, and now it's all going bad again. So I really don't know how the story is going to end or where it's headed, but it's very intriguing. It took me about 13.5 hours, and it's a little after midnight, but I finished the book, and now I am going to go to sleep. It's the next day, and here are the books I read. We have Voice of the Ancient by Connie Lynn Cazette, and I enjoyed this one the most, which is good because I read it late in the evening, so if it was not good, it probably would have lost my interest pretty fast, but I'm giving it 4.5 stars. We have Rally Around the Flag by Jane Orcutt. This book was not for me. I know I was not the target audience, so yeah. For that reason, I'm giving it 3 stars. If I was a target audience, unfortunately, it would probably just get a 2-star from me. We have All That It Takes by Nicole Deese, and this is a sequel to a book I read about 4 years ago. I enjoyed it. I'll give it 4 stars. And the last book is Killing Reagan by Bill O'Reilly. This one I listened to solely as an audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. I will give a language warning, but other than that, I thought it was really interesting. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you for joining me as I did a reading day with about 1,200 pages.